Hey you guys, so I am doing this stream again. This is my third attempt. I had to delete my last video. And all I gotta say is I am getting agitated about this because I swear to God, you know these big YouTubers like Eli, Lewis, like Lewis does a AMA, he has no freaking internet problems. I do a live stream, freaking internet or YouTube just stops trying to cooperate with me. I don't know what it is. I swear to God, like YouTube's probably thinking, shit, Erica doesn't bring enough money like these big YouTubers. We're gonna cut her freaking stream because she's not big enough. Fuck it. Fuck it. Seriously. Like, I'm so fed up with this stuff. Like, if YouTube said, yeah, pay us money to host your stuff, I would say, yeah, sure. Like, I don't like having to stream and then get cut off. Like, I feel really pissed off about this kind of stuff. But, you know what? Hell with it. If I end up repeating myself 7 times and redoing the stream, I'm gonna do it. I just really think, like, it's, like, you never see connection problems with other YouTubers. Even when I'm in New York, I'm streaming from the same freaking internet as Lewis. Lewis has zero problems. Me, cuts off, freezes, cuts off, internet thing. It's like I'm streaming and I don't know what it is. I think YouTube's being very selective and kind of like, you know, when, you know, like the whole bandwidth thing. People are gonna say I'm being wrong here, but I feel like if I was YouTube, I'd rather give my bandwidth and I'd rather make sure that there's no connection or no streaming issues for bigger YouTube versus a tiny channel like mine. So that's it. I feel kind of like one of those like ugly like inferior stepchildren kind of YouTube channels where my channel gets all these connection issues and whatnot. And again, I'm using the same internet with Lewis's. Lewis's has zero issues. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to buy a better MacBook. Maybe I gotta write over to YouTube and say, what the fuck, man? Like, why does my channel constantly have all these connection issues? I don't get it. But enough with my rant. I'm gonna just do this and seriously, F you, YouTube. I shouldn't say that kind of stuff, but this is total bull. It really is, because I have this kind of issue even when I'm in New York. I don't know what causes it. And it sucks because, like, I don't know what's going on until I see, like, I'm having some sort of streaming issue. Like, it's either on YouTube side or it's on my side, but a lot of the times, like, I see it looks like it's totally fine, and then YouTube just gives me errors galore over and over. And I can only assume because YouTube, I really think YouTube's thinking you're not big enough. We're not going to give you the bandwidth that you want because you're not giving us like hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you're making all this freaking streaming, but screw you, Erica. It irks me. It really irks me. And I see other people who are streaming and they have no issues, and it seems like a constant thing for my channel is it cuts off. Again, I'm not just talking about Hawaii. I'm talking about New York as well. So, whatever the issue being, I don't know. Maybe I gotta kiss ass to Susan. Who knows? But it. So let me go back and let me talk about this. So I was looking at YouTube over here, and I was looking at this Eyewitness News, ABC New York, and you can see just based on the videos over here, bicyclist got killed, basketball star gets injured in drive-by shooting, NYPD officer with being shot with BB gun, man stabbed while coming home from Pride March, teen shot while playing basketball on the Upper West Side. Like, this is stuff that a local New York station is reporting. This is not me picking and choosing. This is what they're showing. So I was looking, not only this, I was looking at this New York daily newspaper, and I saw, let's look at the top headlines over here. We got Coney Island go-kart rider beaten into coma by security guard who threw him out of Luna Park. We also got woman in SUV tricks 55-year-old, snatches her necklace in Queens theft. Now, I have said many times, you do not want to really be wearing jewelry in New York. And I know people would say, Erica, you just have a phobia. Look, my safety means more to me than looking nice in New York, okay? I have no problem showing my knees in Honolulu, Hawaii. I have no problem having a nice, like, handbag in Hawaii. But in New York, I mean, it's like, hide all this stuff. Like, I think if you're wearing expensive jewelry in New York, unless you have security with you, and if you're walking out on the street in public, I mean, I'm not going to apologize for this, but I think people are being a idiot, because why would you know all these opportunistic thieves out there? Why are you wearing expensive jewelry outside? Especially if you're a woman, you're going to get mugged. Like, some people would say, "Oh, well, you're just letting fear cripple you." No, I see what goes on in New York. I see the theft, and when I have to think about looking pretty versus making sure I get home safely, I'm going to pick getting home safely over wearing flashy jewelry or wearing nice stuff. It's not worth it to me. So the other thing that we see on this New York Daily News website is NYPD officer mom dies after driver runs red light in Brooklyn. We miss her. Decomposed woman's body found in vacant lot in the Bronx. Not good stuff, you know. And then you got the other stuff that we see over here. Woman tackled to ground by Grover caught in video Brooklyn street attack. Let's Brooklyn is the safest place to be in New York. That's why it's always in the news. I mean, this is the best place to be if you want to get shot, stabbed, assaulted, watching your back. Let's see, East Williamsburg. I don't think that's a cheap place to live either, but yeah, just putting it out there, okay? So yeah, I'm not gonna show you guys that, but on the flip side, let's look at the temperature in New York, because everybody's curious to know what the temperature is, right? Temperature in New York. New York temperature looks like it's pretty cool right now. It's at 72 degrees. Oh, look at this. You guys got a flash flood warning. Oh, you poor babies. 98 degrees humidity. Absolutely killer. I can't imagine having this kind of humidity. But on the flip side, right, so that's New York. De Blasio is saying to save the electricity, turn your electricity on a warmer level. And Hawaii, on the other hand, see, so this New York, 72 degrees, 98 degrees humidity. Hawaii, on the other hand, is 83 degrees, and our humidity is at 51%. So we are much cooler over here. I got a fan on, but we got this beautiful thing called trade winds, which I love so much because it's kind of like this cool breeze. Like, I've always heard about people talking about the trade winds, and I never understood what the big deal with trade winds is. But yeah, look at poor New York over here. 98 degrees humidity in New York, and they're supposed to save electricity. And then here we are in Hawaii with 51 degrees humidity. Yeah, and we have no flash flood warning. So yeah, sucks to be in New York. Again, as I've said, I've seen news articles online. I've seen things on TV. Where they talk about the state of New York, and I'm like, ooh, that kind of sucks. So let's look over here. Hawaii is the sixth most worried state when it comes to crime and safety. So 59% of Hawaii residents, and this came out on June 17, 2021, right? 59% of Hawaii residents said they're worried about their safety. The national average was 47%, okay? So when you look at this, New York is number one. Guess who it just came from? New York. Me. And then we got Maryland. I'm kind of surprised. And then Illinois. Then we got, what else is worse? 3. North Dakota, Montana. I think that's Minnesota. And then we got Hawaii. So let's talk about Hawaii, okay? So people in Hawaii worry about their safety. And they believe that crime is on the rise. And then they said they're worried about gun violence on a daily basis. Oh, lordy. Okay, as a person who lived in Hawaii for 30 years, I can tell you this straight up, okay? I go on the street, nobody is waving around a weapon. I don't have to worry about getting knifed. I mean, Hawaii people, they're worried about this stuff, but in my opinion, in my honest opinion, like, all these people in Hawaii, they're just kind of, being paranoid. Look at this. 33% of Hawaii residents are worried about police violence daily, while 49% say they've been confident in law enforcement. So we actually don't hate our police over here. I've said it before, like, for instance, I dated 2 guys who got into the police academy. And this was, this isn't when I was dating them. Well, one of them was when I was dating them. But I never encouraged him to do it. But like people in the HPD, it's kind of like you probably know someone who knows someone, so you don't have to worry about like who is this person. You see, it's kind of like we're on a tiny little freaking island. So chances are, if you meet someone, you know someone who knows that some person, and maybe this is your cousin's friend's brother's husband or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. We're a tiny island, so you live in a small community. You don't worry about like who is this person. It's kind of like if you live in a small town or so, you might not worry about police because you know the police, because it's a small little town. So all this stuff over here. So we use security systems. We have some sort of measure. Some people are really, they're really big in their security system in Hawaii. Do you know what they have? They got Pomeranians. They got little yuppie Pomeranians, little poodles, those kind of dogs, little terriers. That tends to be the security system of choice that I've seen with people. I've seen little Dachshunds over there. That like little Jack Russells, very ferocious dogs. Like Lord, you go to Hawaii and you see a little Pomeranian. That is the security system. That's it. So. When I see this kind of thing, I think, oh, Hawaii. It seems like Hawaii's a really dangerous place. It isn't. When people are just paranoid, they're worried about this crap coming from New York, coming over to our little island. But that doesn't seem to be the thing, really. So let's look at KHON2 News, which is a local news station over here. Let's talk about what we see over here. What is on this channel? We got Governor holds bill signing ceremony on gun violence. Then we have about some musical. Then it's cooking. Price change at Hanauma Bay. And then we got doctor answering medical questions. Lost dog rings doorbell. Vaccinations. Lowering your stress levels. Taxi cabs needing more drivers. Let's see. Okay, one husband arrested after wife dies from apparent stab wounds in Nanakuli home. Okay. And then we got Moss, University of Hawaii students design Moss. Man, these people stream so much. It's almost like wow, look at this. This is like so crazy. It's like every freaking hour they got something. The bus will only accept holo cards on Oahu. Hawaiian Humane Society. Continue pursuit. What is this? Kauai. That's another island. For murder of Kapahi woman. Okay, we got a Hawaii nonprofit leader centered from embezzlement over here. We got the frickin' scam. F the rail. I hate the Honolulu rail. Oh my god, it's such a scam. I don't even want to talk about the rail. If you want to know what the worst, in my opinion, the worst case of corruption and lying and whatnot ever in Honolulu is, this is the frickin' rail, the road to nowhere. I swear it is a huge money drain. It is one of the worst financial decisions we're making, and it passed through. I think it was something like 51%, 49%. I voted no to rail. Okay, I want everybody to know that I voted no for rail. I can't believe we got 2% of idiots who voted for the rail. And I don't want to get too off tangent, but every person I know who voted for rail thought that the rail would bring them jobs. And you know what? They didn't get freaking jobs at all. Those people who voted for rail, it doesn't mean that they themselves would have gotten the jobs. And now we have this money pit thing, and it just pisses me off. See this? So you can see, you don't really see too much stuff over here, right? Like, okay, a suspect was assaulting an elderly woman. Okay, he's gonna appear in court on Wednesday. So can you imagine that? All right, one suspect accused of assaulting elderly woman. They actually follow up and they say, yeah, he's gonna appear in court on Wednesday. And then we got the this kind of stuff, Monarch Butter. This is a lot of fluff stuff. We got food again, rideshare stuff, restaurants needing to find employees. We talking about our donuts. Ooh, Love's powdered donuts have hit the shelves on Costco. Yeah, you don't really see too much of the frickin' stuff that you see in New York, for sure. Okay, one woman got in critical condition after kayak capsizes. Okay, and then we got some drug bust over here. But other than that, it looks pretty freaking safe. I mean, this is a lot of fluff stuff. Oh, here we got our trade winds over here, canine obstacle course, all this stuff. See, SPCA. I mean, yeah, this kind of stuff. And even when you look at our news, what's our number one thing over here? Hawaii records one new, related death. 49 additional infection. Like, that is our top freaking news. And then when you look at the side, you see, okay, a guy got probation for daughter's starvation death. So she had this, oh my, this looks terrible. She died of malnutrition in a home with 3 refrigerators that each contained food. Terrible. I gotta watch into that, because that reminds me of the Tupkin, Turkin, the family that had like 13 kids or something, and they were starving them. But other than that, I don't see anything. We got the signs gun violence prevention thing, but other than that, I'm not seeing any dangerous stuff, really. I'm not seeing like person got shot, stabbed. Okay, officers' actions in the Lindani. This happened a long time, Lindani Miani. That happened like last year. Earlier this year, last year, months ago. So you can see there's a big difference between Hawaii versus New York. Hawaii is cooler right now. I mean, frick, look, our top news, our front page news of the Star Avatars online is we got one person who died from, what? Whoop. I mean, I know that sounds really insensitive, but that just kind of shows you how Hawaii is. Like, just hearing about the one passing with the 49 additional infections is like the biggest thing reported. But when you look at New York, it's like crap versus crap versus crap versus crap. Yeah, so seeing how New York is 5,000 miles away, kind of sucks. So all this stuff over here, it doesn't seem, it seems so much better than New York for sure. And I just want to put it out there. I did recommend to someone to move to Hawaii. I made that recommendation early on. I said, well, why don't you move to Hawaii? You want to get away from New York. Why don't you move to Hawaii? Because Hawaii does not have the crap that New York has. We're cool. We have cooler temperatures. People don't really have ACs because we have trade winds and we have fans, and we're perfectly fine over here. And people get along. It's a safe, cozy little community. The only downside is that price of real estate here is expensive, but it's no different. I actually think it's it's basically no different than living in New York. But you really have a physical barrier. You got a freaking ocean, right? You got the bunch of the states in the continental U.S. plus you got the ocean, and then you got my little itty bitty dot isolated in. And we are fine over here. So it's interesting to see it from here and then hear about all the crap that's going on in New York and saying 98% humidity. Man, it sucks to be in New York. So I don't even have the fan on right now, and I'm okay for sure. How are homes built in Hawaii? They are basically, I don't know. They're kind of like, basically like concrete blocks, for lack of a better word. A lot of them was built around like 60s or 70s, so you're looking at like just say concrete block structures. You got some wooden houses, and yeah, that's it. We do have sunny weather over here. We don't have to worry about natural disasters. I know Florida got all kind of hurricane seasons. Like Hawaii we don't really have to worry about that over here. Like when we hear about hurricane season or whatnot, it's just like, okay, go buy a pack of water and that's it. And a lot of the times, like, nothing happens, so people just get kind of complacent. I mean, like, what's gonna happen to our little tropical island? I mean, like, knock on wood, but I don't worry about being in Hawaii because it's just so much safer. It's like protected for sure. So all that kind of stuff, right? I personally think Hawaii is far superior to New York. I understand the money is all in New York, but still, still, I would say if you can, don't be afraid to move to Hawaii. The only downside, as I mentioned, is the job situation in Hawaii absolutely kind of blows. Most of my friends that I know, like a huge majority of them, they no longer live in Hawaii. They moved off to the mainland, and they're they moved off to the mainland for better opportunities. But I did speak to family today, and I remember I was speaking to one of my uncles. So his wife, he wanted to move to the mainland for better job opportunities, and his wife got a job. And they've been living in the continental U.S. for quite some time, but they're very close to retirement age. And I was telling my uncle, I said, hey, when both of you retire, because your kids are grown, your kids are graduated from college, you should probably move back to Hawaii. And they were saying, oh, they have a house there. And I said, yeah, but family is over here, right? Family is so important, because when the kids move away, right, they have some kids. When the kids move away and the husband and wife is by themselves, if anything happens, who is going to take care of them, right? And I told my uncle, I said, what happened to my uncle, the one who recently passed away, I feel so fortunate that he was diagnosed in Hawaii, because if he had stayed in the continental United States, he would have been screwed. He wouldn't have not had family taking care of him. Family came together when my uncle with the cancer got sick, and they took him to his appointments. One of my aunties, she and her husband took care of him. If he had to be by himself in the continental United States, he would have had a caretaker, and and I know the caretaker would have been as loving or as thorough or as attentive as family, for sure, right? So I brought that up, and I said, yeah, just think about it. Just think about when you retire, when both of you retire, seriously consider moving back to Hawaii, because if anything happens, family will take care. And really, family is all we got when it comes down to it, right? One day I will get older, and I just think that, yeah, if I had to be in a situation where I feel like I'm completely isolated from family and I have like nobody, right? Kind of like my uncle, right? If I had to place myself in my uncle's situation, I would have been terrified if I was diagnosed with cancer. And so I just brought that up to my uncle, and I hope he takes that into consideration, because the family unit is all in Hawaii. So if him and his wife decide to move back to Hawaii, man, family would be so overjoyed. They'd be like, yay, the siblings would all be together. My aunts, my uncle, my dad, that kind of stuff. And as they get older, they can all watch out for each other. My cousins, my whatnot is over here. They can all help out, right? I think undertaking for one person, for one-to-one, is a bit much. But if you spread it out amongst multiple people, like, hey, let me go bring food, let me go ahead and check up, it's much more manageable. So for instance, my grandma's like 92 years old. She has 3 or 4 people checking up on her every day. I would say at least 2 people a day, and that is her children, right? But so the responsibilities is spaced out. It's not just one sibling or one child taking care of everything, and that's the beautiful thing about that. So so that's the kind of thing. It's like I kind of realize, like, it's actually good to like, if you can, be with family, right? Especially if you're retired and you're getting older and you have, let's say, a lot of your siblings in Hawaii or whatnot. Like, be with them, because why live off your years away from family, you see? And I don't want that for my uncle and my aunt, because as their kids progress in their career, right? They fly the nest. I don't want my uncle and aunt, I don't want, let's say one of them passes away and the other one is just like, you worry because like what if the one that is still living, right? Because they're not going to pass away together, right? Eventually, right? I hope they live a very, very long life, but if one of them passes away and then the other one has to live independently, I just worry, like, what if there's some sort of medical emergency, no one is checking up on them, and they pass away and nobody knows. And yeah, it was a preventable death, kind of thing. So that kind of stuff makes me very aware. And I've also shared with you guys that yeah, I used to think that big families weren't so great, but I've come to the realization that it's actually smarter to have like more than one kid, because if you have more than one kid, then the kids can bond with each other. They grow up to each other. When they have hardships, they can lean on each other, assuming that they have a strong relation. So my grandma had, I think, like 6 or 7 kids, and yeah, like they're a bunch that really gets along very, very, very well. And yeah, there's definitely teamwork and there's definitely camaraderie, and it's just beautiful to see that kind of stuff. So that's why I was, like I said, my uncle, who is my dad's brother, I told him, I said, yeah, think about moving back to Hawaii when you retire, and that way you guys get to stay closer to family, and that kind of stuff. How can you support 7 kids? This was back in the olden days, so I don't know. I mean, I like, I don't think most people right now can support 7 kids. Some people struggle with even having 1 kid because kids are expensive. But I will share with you this story as well. So I found out from one of my aunts that, my uncle who passed away from cancer, he had this like, my uncle who passed away from cancer, he was actually identified as like the chosen one that would protect the family and have the brightest future of all of his siblings. So the story is that my grandpa, my gonggong, when he was in China, and he used to sell cloth, like making fabric, the fabric that they used to make clothes. So he was a cloth seller, and he had a stall. So he had a bunch of kids, right? And one of the customers was this person who was affiliated with some sort of church or some sort of like priest or something like that. So this woman comes in, and she's not a nun, she's not a priestess, but she works for them. And she sees, she goes to check out the fabric, and she realizes my grandpa has so many kids. And then she sees my uncle, the uncle who unfortunately passed away from cancer. She sees my uncle sleeping on a cardboard box. He's like sleeping on some cardboard on the ground. And she says, wow, you really have a lot of kids. And she speaks to my grandpa and says, but this one is going to be the one who protects the family. He's going to provide for the family. And he is going to just, he's going to be, he's going to brighten up your life, or he's going to provide for you, so you're going to be able to see things or do things that you thought you never would be able to. And that priestess, or that not the priestess, but that person who was affiliated with the church, said that. And I don't know if they shared that with my uncle before he passed away, but it came out to be true. He was really the chosen, the chosen golden child of sorts. And he was really a superstar. And he was always so focused on family. He took my grandparents out on cruises and trips around the world. They went to see Egypt. They went to go to Alaska. He did everything he could to provide for his parents. And he was the most successful in terms of career. So it's just really heartbreaking. You can imagine a person who is just who gives up so much and sacrifices so much and works so hard for the family, right? So selfless, passes away from cancer. Out of the whole group, he was the second youngest, and he ended up passing away first. So he wanted to protect his mom. He wanted to be there for his mom, and his mom outlived him. That's why it was. That's why it was so. That's why it was so crushing when he passed away, because people look up to him, right? They're so inspired because he's the golden child of sorts. And then to find out the person who is the most best looking out of all the siblings, the fittest, the smartest, the most dedicated towards family, that person passes away from cancer. And they, by the time they found out, he only had 4 months to live. That's why it guts my family so much about it. So yeah, so the upside about it though is I've told family, I said, well, that doesn't mean that all the qualities that he had passed away with him. You can pick up the torch kind of thing. We can always remember how he lived. And I know that when we pass away one day, he'll be waiting there for us, right? I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And I know he's watching over us, and he's, sending us his love and his support. And I'm sure he's fine on the other side. But it sucks, because it's like one of those pillars of the family that you never thought would pass away. Just like, I wish I was as good as this guy. I wish I was as good as my uncle. I wish I was as smart and driven and just like, my uncle was really like the complete package, inside and out. I mean, like, people would say I'm just fluffing things up. No, he was a really, really good person. Really good person. It's just like unreal how selfless he was. And yeah, so he donated blood. I found that out too. He was a big, he always tried to donate blood. He didn't have to, but he donated many gallons of blood because he wanted to help out other people. And I also found out that, for instance, right, he worked for a company, a big company, and then a lot of the people in that company got outsourced. And he wasn't their supervisor, but he heard about it. And when he found, he had worked for the company for many, many, many years, decades. And when he heard that they were getting outsourced, he was so sad because he had known some of these people. What he did is that he decided to take a vacation to be with family for 2 weeks, because he said he did not want to see them go. It like gutted him inside to know that a lot of people were going to be laid off from the company that he worked from, and he just didn't want to see them, pack their stuff and leave. And I thought that was so sad. I was thinking like, wow, so he was so gutted about people in a department, and I'm sure he knew some of them, okay, being laid off en masse, that he chose not to even be in the same state for 2 weeks because he just felt so bad for them. And yeah, so the department got outsourced to, Philippines and things like that. So that's the thing. And I just thought like, wow, he was really kind, and he had a lot of empathy for people. But he was a private person. But I remember hearing about that when he was alive. He said that, yeah, the whole department or the whole unit got outsourced, and it was because they wanted to save on cost. And his job it wasn't outsourced, but yeah, he just really felt bad for the people who were working for the company for such a long time. And yeah. They got outsourced. They lost their jobs. So yeah, he couldn't do anything about it. He wasn't a supervisor, but he was there. He was there for many, many years, decades, over 30 years. So he saw changes and things like that. And I thought like, shit. So yeah, I remember him talking about that, because I remember when I was younger, I saw him and I thought like, wow, this is so weird. Like, I'm seeing him outside of Thanksgiving. And then he said, yeah, a lot of people got outsourced. And of course, he's not going to tell, this was like years ago, right? He's not going to have this full blown conversation with someone who's in high school during the time, because they just don't understand, right? But I remember he was very somber about it. But yeah, I was thinking like, oh, okay, that sucks. They got outsourced, but I guess it really just shook him. It shook him that so many people lost their jobs and they would have to find new jobs. And yeah, yeah, it really impacted him. No, he wasn't a factory worker. Their customer service department, or like, customer support, those people, that department got outsourced. I'm sure it was another department too, but that's all I can remember off the top of my head. So he was very in tune with people, but he was a very private person. So you won't find any social media of him. And but just knowing, I like to hear stories about him, because the more I hear about things, I think it's very indicative of his character. And so many times, I hear about these things. And one of the things that I was also shared, and I really should make a stream about it, was my aunt, which is his younger sister. My aunt had, this was back in like the 70s or 80s. She was in college and her typewriter broke, and she was a little stressed out because the typewriter wasn't cheap or anything like that, but it broke and she really needed it. So what he does is he actually bought her a typewriter, and he put a note on there, and he actually drew a picture of a person, but he didn't include one of the arms and one of the legs. And he wrote something along the lines of, here is my arm and here is my leg. I hope this helps you. And I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, like, he didn't have to do that for his sister, okay? But he didn't make that much money too, because this is before he, I think he was still a college student or something during that time, or he was just starting to work. But you see, like, if he knows his sibling needs something, he'll spend money on his sibling just to make sure that they have what they need. You see? So, like, that kind of thing where he includes a card where he draws a picture of a person missing their left arm and their left leg, like, that's the kind of humor that he had. And it was just very, very selfless. Like, I can't imagine, I can't imagine, like, anybody else that I know that would just say, okay, someone I know needs help with something, or they need to buy something that's kind of expensive, and immediately the first thing is like, okay, I'll help them out, and then I'll figure out, what to do later on. And he never asked for things in return. He was so selfless and so giving. That's the kind of person he is. So when I talk about him, it's not just like, oh, Erica's just sad because she lost her uncle. It's like, that's the kind of person he was, genuinely was. And this happened, of course, before I was born, but it's just like, he worked hard to make money so he had resources, and then he used those resources to spend it on the people that he loved. And that was really his mom, which is my grandma. So he tried to give her the world, kind of thing. And he was really frugal, okay? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I went to the house today, and I was looking around, and I see this, I kid you not, okay? I see this, like, those mail-in rebates for cereal? Yeah. He actually mailed in a $2 or $3 rebate for cereal. Just because he was like that much of a saver. So you would think that by doing that kind of thing, oh, he must be such a cheapskate. He must be such a Scrooge. But no, he saved his money and worked really hard to make money just so he could provide for his family, you see. And he never had kids, he never got married, but he was really one of those pillars in my family. And I don't want to say we took him for granted, but we always assumed he was going to be there. I always assumed he was going to be there, and I just thought, like, man, my uncle is just my uncle. He's always like that. Like, I always knew he was a great guy, but I didn't know how deep it was until he passed away. And I realized, like, yeah, like when my mom passed away, he didn't have to fly from East Coast to back to Hawaii just to show support, but he did. Within 48 hours he was back in Honolulu. It was insane. I was so surprised, because I thought to myself, like, nobody asked him to come to Hawaii, but as soon as he heard the news that my mom passed away, it's like he dropped things and just said, I gotta get to Hawaii to show support for the family. Nobody asked him, okay? And I'm not kidding. And I never thanked him for it, because it's like, I never thanked him for it because it was a really painful period of my life, and it just didn't cross my mind. But I remember distinctively, I was shocked when I saw him, because I thought, wow, usually I don't see him until Thanksgiving, and here he is in Hawaii just to be there for us. It was crazy. So, yeah, it's like, I don't know anybody else who can really fill those kind of shoes of my uncle, and he was just an incredible human being. And from what I was hearing, he took after my grandpa, because my grandpa was a very selfless person too. So there's a story, something along the lines, and I might be remembering it wrong, where my aunt, one of my aunts, she needs money for college, and he gives her, a lot of money. And she tells him, she's like, why are you giving me so much money? Like, this is too much. Like, this is like, she can't accept this. And what my grandpa tells her, my grandpa is my uncle's dad, right? Is something along the lines of, I entered this world penniless, and I will leave the world penniless. So I want you to have this money so you can have a better future. And yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh. So, I heard about this when my grandpa, my gung passed away. And I thought, like, it's sad because I never got to speak to him because he speaks Cantonese and I don't speak Cantonese. But hearing about, my grandpa being this way, it's understandable why my uncle, right, his son is similar to that. But it's on a higher level because my grandpa didn't make that much money. But his son, through hard work, through working hard and saving his money, he was able to give a life to my grandparents that they would have never dreamed of. And I'm not saying like they were living in like a luxury apartment or anything like that, but he was able to take them on cruises. He was able to take them on vacations. He paid for everything for them. And he did it, he did it because he loved his family so much. And even before that, he tried to help out his siblings too. And it's not like, of course, it wasn't like family was like leeching off of him or anything like that. But if it's just like they mentioned, if he found out, for instance, right, like his sister has a broken typewriter, even though he's not there, even though he's not in the same state, he bought her a typewriter because he wanted her to, not have to be stressed out about having a broken typewriter. So that is how he lived, and I really should make a separate stream talking about him. I probably will in the future when I compile more and more of these stories, but you can see my streams are kind of scattered with things that I learn, and it's so inspiring. So I was talking to family today, and I sent a text message and I said, I did not know that 25% of all blood donations collected by the blood banks, they go to cancer patients. And cancer patients need blood transfusions, especially when they go through chemotherapy. So before my uncle had his cancer diagnosis, before he passed away from cancer, he had donated several gallons of blood in his life. And he did it because, like I said, he wanted to make the world a better place. He wanted to do his part. Even people he didn't know, he wanted to help them out. So I was telling my family, I said, we really should donate blood in his memory and just continue on. It's like he's gone, but that doesn't mean his kind, selfless acts have to just disappear too. We can do it ourselves. And yeah, I don't know if anybody else is gonna donate blood, but I'm intending to donate blood. And moving forward, I want to donate blood in his memory because yeah, it's really the least that I can do. And yeah, he needed blood transfusions later on, and he's donated more blood than, of course, he took. And I just can't help but think that, yeah, he was. I know people are going to say this sounds really stupid, but I just feel so grateful that he was able to get a blood transfusion. And I'm sure, he never thought he would need a blood transfusion in the future, but just him being able to have that blood transfusion that maybe helped prolong his life even just a little bit. I want that for another person as well. So yeah, I heard that if you donate blood, you can help save, I think, 3 or 4 lives. And yeah, so I can donate blood, from what I've been hearing, about 7 or 8 times a year. And yeah, I'm not going to say I'm going to donate every 8 weeks, but yeah, I want to donate blood. And I have donated blood in the past. Last time I donated blood was before I moved to New York. I did not donate blood after that because I felt really woozy afterwards. But keep in mind, I was like about 10 pounds lighter, like about 10 pounds lighter than I am now. So maybe I was just really underweight. I know minimum requirement for giving blood is 110 pounds. So yeah, I used to be around like 113, 115 at the time, and now I'm about 123 pounds. I mean, yeah, so I have more body weight on me. So if I donate a pint of blood, hopefully, right, hopefully I should fare better. That kind of stuff, for sure. So I will talk to you guys later. And I hope that the way that my uncle lived, I hope maybe it inspires you guys to be a better person. And I share these kind of things because sometimes we hear about people like this in the world, but a lot of the times we hear just so much shit going on in life. And I hope that people hear about the way my uncle lived because maybe they're also inspired to make a difference in the world. I hope all of you guys have a long life. I hope that your loved ones have a long life too. But what I've learned is that we can always make more of a difference in the world, and we can help other people out. And at the end of it, right, my uncle could not bring his possessions with him to the afterlife. But what he was able to do is that he was able to leave a lasting impression in so many hearts. Not just my family's hearts, but his co-workers' hearts. And a lot of people said that, yeah, they really will miss him because of the kind of person he was. He was always warm and he was always friendly, and everybody knew he was very family centered. And yeah, I have just spending time with family and hearing more about his life. It makes me more committed. It makes me more committed to make sure that my family, if I can help it, we always keep in touch. And when at his funeral, I said something along the lines of, even though he's gone, I hope the family continues to be close. I hope that we always see each other every Thanksgiving, because I've noticed that every Thanksgiving our family is getting smaller and smaller because people are moving, right? People move and then they just say like, oh yeah, well the flight is like 10 hours away, I don't want to fly out to see family. But at the end of it, family is what brought us into the world, and family is what's going to be left. Family, it's not going to be our monies, it's not going to be in our possessions. And I don't know how much that resonated with them people, I really don't, but I really feel that way. And for my uncle to just make the trip every Thanksgiving to see family, it just made me think like, man, Jeez, without an excuse, he always would fly out to see family. Someone passed away, he would fly out to see family. Someone had a wedding, he would fly in to see family. He wanted to be there for family. All that stuff. Like, it was just like nobody asked him to do it, but he was just like that pillar that we took for granted. And it wasn't until, like I said, it wasn't until we passed away that we realized, like, crap, he really went out of his way to be there for us. And again, we were just, I don't want to say we were being idiots, but because he was always there, we got comfortable, we got used to it. And now he's not here, and now it's like, I think there's such a great loss in the family that I don't want the special traits that he had to just like go off and just disappear. So yeah, that kind of stuff. It was kidney cancer. And they speculated that it was the pollution in his where he lived that might have given him the cancer. I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't know if that's true, but whatever the case is, I tell family, I said I'm really thankful and I'm really happy that when he was diagnosed, he was in Hawaii, because if he was by himself and he was dying by himself away from family outside of Hawaii, the level of care he would have had would have not been up to par with how family could have treated him. And then if you live for family, if you work so hard for family, if you're dying, you want to be around family, right? So it's like having family around, in my opinion, really comforted him. And he had such a strong desire to live. That's what family told me. They said he did not want to think about death because he was so committed to pulling through. But at the end, it's like, it's not like his spirit wavered. It's not like he lost the will to live. It's that his organs could not keep up with the battle against cancer. You see? So his spirit and his resolve and his desire to live kept going on, because he wanted to be there for his mom. He wanted to be there for family. Like, no son who loves his mom so much wants to die before his mom, especially if the mom is like 92 years old. You see? So, that's it. So that's why it's heartbreaking. It's like, frick, after the shutdowns, he immediately came over to Hawaii to be with family, to take care of his mom, and people were so thankful for it. They're like, oh, that's great, now he can take care of her. And I think he felt like it was his, a blessing and a duty and an honor to take care of his mom, because he really loved his mom. He really did. And so, at the end of it, while he's suffering, while he's in so much pain, I was hearing that, his mom, my grandma, would hold his hand, and he would hold her hand too. And, but the sad thing is that she had dementia. So she did not really grasp it, that was her son. But it's weird. It's like she would be in and out, so she would know that was him, and she would try to comfort him. But then she might have periods where she doesn't really recognize him. So, like, even for me, like, she doesn't recognize who I am. Even my cousin, she keeps forgetting who my cousin is. So this is one of those times where I say having dementia, having memory problems is really now, I don't want to say it's a blessing, but I think she would have been gutted knowing that her most committed son, her son who tried to give her a really good life, passed away. The son that left where he lived just to take care of her and intended to take care of her for the rest of her life just died, from cancer. I'm always going to remember my uncle. I'm always going to remember how he lived. And I have 100,000% respect for him. And I can only hope, I've said this before, but I can only hope that I can be, a fraction, like, as good as him. And I want to just, like, I don't want how he died to be in vain. I don't want to be how he lived to be in vain either. Because I just think, like, if no one if like all the qualities that he had, it had the opportunity to inspire people to be better. And he never sought to get attention from people. He never asked for thanks or anything like that. He was just a really humble, quiet person. He was very outgoing, don't get me wrong. He loved family, but he never demanded that people pay attention to him. He never demanded thanks. He did his own thing, and he was just very level-headed and kind, and just very, very dedicated to the family. And yeah, here I am, thinking to myself before, like, oh, it's like a 12-hour flight to Hawaii. Oh, I got this freaking layover. And I just seemed like such an idiot, complaining about that, because it's like, okay, I was worried about that kind of stuff. And then here my uncle was, immediately goes over to Hawaii just to be with his mom. And this is, he went to fly out to her when, what was at its high point. And when I got the notification about his cancer diagnosis, that happened in like around February of this year. And I was told, like, yeah, don't visit because there's a hospital restriction and things like that. So I let that hold me back. And it's one of my regrets, because I wish I had just gone out to see him and, told him, like, yeah, if I had lived more like how he lived, where he wouldn't let this stupid thing hold him back from seeing family, then I would have been able to see him in person. But yeah, it's one of those regrets that I have, because I think to myself, like, shit, and that's why I apologize. I apologized, and when I was able to see his body, I apologized to him profusely. And I told him, I said, I'm so sorry, it's not like I didn't care. I just thought that it would, I just thought, like, oh, everything would be okay. And I lost track of time afterwards, and I thought, okay, well, family's taking care of him, and maybe he doesn't want to answer my calls, or maybe he doesn't really want to talk to me. But yeah, and then I missed my opportunity. But at least I got to speak to him on the phone. But I wish I got to speak to him on the phone when he was more coherent. And if I had gone and seen him in February or March, or April, or before he got to chemo, then I would have been able to have more conversation with him. I would have been able to ask him more about his life. I would have been able to ask, or just tell him certain things, right? But it's a missed opportunity, and I can never get that time back at all. Yeah. Yeah, so we've been visiting him at his grave, and I prayed, and I said, I want to have the strength, and I want to have the courage to help this family. It's like I want to just be able, and I know this sounds weird, but I want to just kind of walk in that footsteps, because I don't want people to feel like, okay, like, just because he's gone, like, nobody gives a shit about the family and things like that. So yeah, yeah, I asked for that strength. And then I also took, he had some earbuds, some jobber earbuds, and I looked at them, and it was kind of heartbreaking. I'm gonna be real here. Like, I saw them, right? I saw them in a pouch, and I picked them up, and I asked my aunt, I was like, is this yours? And she said, no, that's not hers. And I realized that they were my uncle's. And I saw that he had a pair that was on, and it was trying to pair, and it couldn't pair, and it just broke my heart, because I realized, like, those were his headphones, and I guess when they pair, they're close to his phone or something, and somehow I guess the colors change or something. But it'll always be in a state of trying to connect with him, and it can't, because his phone is gone. He's gone. And yeah, I asked, and I took them home, because I thought, like, yeah, I as crazy as it sounds, like, I kept the earphones, the earbuds, because I want to just feel like I have my uncle in my ear, guiding me, so that way, if That way, if anything happens to family, hopefully I have the wisdom, and hopefully I have the knowledge and the strength to just kind of help the family out as best I can. Yeah, so that's my thinking. And I know it sounds kind of cheesy to put it that way, but I look at those earbuds and I think to myself, like, yeah, he listened to things using those earbuds, and just looking at them, like, I hope that I get wisdom from him. I hope I get guidance from him in the future. And yeah, I'm more in tune about certain things. That's all. So yeah, I have two sets of earbuds that nobody else wants, and I look at it and I look at them with such respect, and it's like a small little thing, right? But I really could use his guidance, and I pray for his guidance, and I pray for his wisdom, and I pray for knowing what to do, in the future, because I know, like I said, he's not going to be the first one that passes. He's not going to be the only one in my family passing away. There are about 6 other siblings, and they're all up there in age. They're all getting older, and I know that the family's going to have hardships because, as health diminishes, right, it's going to require the coordination, cooperation of the family. Like if one gets sick, or if one has, like, falls down and that kind of stuff, or yeah. But yeah, I just hope that, and I know this sounds really morbid, but I hope that as my family members get older, because I'm still young, I hope that if I feel like anything goes on, or if they need me, right, I'm going to be the one who goes on that plane and sees my family. I'm not going to make the same mistake, for sure. So yeah, I'm not going to say make the same mistake where I assumed time was on my side. Like everybody else assumed time was on the side, because yeah, I have one regret. One regret is a little too much for this. And yeah, I just take it as that. What do you mean that's kind of rude? What's rude? Yeah. Oh. JC is saying that. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Pop Shan. That's the thing that caught me off guard, because once I heard the news that he had cancer, I started crying, because once I heard it was bone cancer, I thought to myself, this is really bad. And I thought, right? I thought if it metastasized at stage 4, I wouldn't say you have a good chance. I would say that you have to face reality, and there's a good chance you actually might not make it. So this is the time, right? If I was a doctor, I would say, you know what, we're going to put you through treatment, but I would recommend, if you want anybody to see you, make sure your family members see you. Make sure you spend as much time with them, because while you're going through treatment, anything can happen. That's what I would have said if I was a doctor. But it almost sounded like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, you have a pretty good chance to live. There was no immediacy. And yeah, there was immediacy, right? I would have said, like, shit, right? Really, time is of the essence, kind of thing. Like, I need to get my ass over to Hawaii and see. And because I don't have a job in New York, right, I could have spent, 1 week, 2 weeks with family, and then see how it is. But yeah, I assumed everything was okay. I assumed that, yeah, he might have some troubles, but it's probably just chemotherapy. Oh, it's just radiation, not that bad. But he had a lot of complications. He had a lot of things that was going on. He had internal bleeding. He had pneumonia. He had a medical coma. All that stuff, I was not aware that was going on. And as I told you guys before, right? If you have bone cancer, your calcium starts leaching out of your bones. You can OD on calcium. You can end up in a coma immediately. And that actually happened. But the hospital caught it, and then they gave him something, so it took out the calcium from his body. I don't know what they did, but yeah, his bones were disintegrating or deteriorating to the point that calcium was leaching out. And yeah, so all that stuff, like, his body was obviously failing, in my opinion. It really was. But just hearing the whole thing where, oh yeah, I'm not going to give you a timeline about how long he has left. Oh, we're not going to put in like the freaking bulletin, like, everybody get your ass over to Hawaii because it's really not looking good, kind of thing. That's why I just felt like I was, you know, that's why I was blindsided by it. And that's why I feel like I had so much regrets, because I thought, shit, I did not know. I did not know how bad it was. Kind of thing. I don't know. See, so like I told you guys, right? With whenever I heard the news, I told you guys about that. First thing I heard was, oh, his cancer diagnosis, and then I heard, oh yeah, but the doctor feels like he has a pretty good chance. And then I spoke to him on the phone, and then I heard, I got a phone call like a couple months later, maybe about 3 weeks before he passed, and I heard, oh yeah, he's always tired. He's getting treatment right now. He's going through chemotherapy and radiation, and I thought, okay, no big deal. Of course he's gonna be tired. You're going under chemotherapy and radiation. But I didn't think about like heading over there, because I thought, well, he's probably okay. I don't wanna like go over there and then find out he's always sleeping or anything like that. I was like, yeah, he has so much family around there, and I'm sure he's gonna be fine. I'll see him after his chemotherapy. I'll see him after the radiation. I'll see him after this thing like lifts up. Because remember, right, before that, right, I had tried giving him phone calls, and he got my phone calls. I heard he got my phone calls, but he didn't give me a call back. He gave me a call back once, and that was it. And then I didn't want to be a pain in the ass, so I just didn't call him. I thought, like, yeah, if he doesn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, and he's sleeping or whatnot, I don't want to push it. Because he knew I was calling him. So, that kind of thing, that definitely just made me think, like, okay, I guess he just wants some space, not gonna push it, not gonna do it. So yeah, last time I spoke to him, he was very slurred. I could not understand him at all, and he was trying to tell me something, and I felt I could hear, like, even though I couldn't understand him, I know he was hurt, because I told him, I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't understand what you're saying. And yeah, that I mean, like, it hurt me to tell him that, because I heard this, like, little, that kind of, like, awareness. But yeah, last thing I ever told him is that I loved him, and we're all hoping and praying that he gets better soon. And yeah, 3 weeks after that, he passed away. Yeah. Yeah, so all those little fine details, like the pneumonia, the internal bleeding, that stuff, I didn't know. I really didn't know. But yeah, I spoke to one of my uncles, and he said he was FaceTiming. He was trying to FaceTime with my uncle, the one who had cancer. And he said, yeah, he didn't want to bother him, because a lot of the times he said he was too tired. He didn't want to talk. And he would always just, like, he would, like, look in the camera, but his eyes would be closed, because he said he had no energy. That kind of stuff. So people did try to reach out to him that way, but it's hard to communicate when he had no energy, and it's hard to communicate when he was also in pain as well. So looking at what I know now, right, it's like you look at stuff and you think, like, oh man, could we have gotten him like CBD oil? Could we have put him on American ginseng? I heard that helps with energy. Could we have gotten another referral from someone? Should we have sent the charts to another doctor and asked them for their opinion? Should we have done this? Should we have done that? And hindsight is really 20. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But yeah, now that I think about it, like, I should have asked, like, can you send me a picture of the charts? and then I can get a second opinion. And I'm sure if I asked for it, right, I'm sure he would have authorized it, because he would have said, okay, he really wanted to live. And yeah, that was it. But when you have a loved one in a hospital and they're having the care under a doctor, you assume that, yeah, the doctor is going to be able to make the best decision. Really, for cancer, the only therapy you really have right now is chemotherapy and radiation. That's it. He underwent radiation and he got fucked over when chemotherapy came in, because he took a real bad turn for the worse once he went under chemo. But he was so weak that they said they couldn't do surgery on him. So really, and they didn't want to do any more radiation because they said radiation was expensive. I guess there's a limit to how much radiation they can do. But yeah, family was pushing it. They're like, why don't you just put radiation on all his organs, and then he's responding to it. Just keep doing radiation. And the hospital refused. The doctors refused, citing costs. Yeah. But he knew how much we were worried about him. So yeah, yeah. Yeah, JC. So JC says it sounded like he wanted to die with dignity rather than a burden or the center of attention. Yeah, I definitely think that could have been the case. But yeah, when I look back at it, like if I had spoken to him on the phone, I would have instantly cried, because I was like, I can't find that stream. I don't know if I hid it or if I deleted it or whatnot, but when I got the cancer diagnosis, I was already an emotional wreck. I was super emotional about it, because I thought to myself, this does not sound good. Cancer in the brain, cancer in the chest, cancer in the bones, cancer that's metastasized is stage 4, and stage 4 is, I knew, right? Even with my limited knowledge about cancer, I was like, I know this sounds really bad. I don't think that he has a good chance, but I didn't see the scan, so I thought, okay, well, if the doctor says they feel like he has a good chance, then maybe I'm just being too much of a ball of tears over here, right? So, yeah, so all that stuff happened, and yeah, so everybody in the family, they're just shocked, because they said, everybody thought that they had more time, and when he took a turn, he just went downhill really fast. And yeah, the people thought he was getting better. Like, for instance, right, he was getting treatment, and then he looked like he was getting better to the point where he could lift up a spoon. So what the hospital did is they discharged him, because they said, oh, look, he can kind of feed himself, so yeah, he must be getting better, let's send him back home. And then the next day he had to come back into the hospital, because something happened. So yeah, like that kind of stuff, it's like the freaking hospital, it's almost like they want to just like get rid of him or just like dump him out kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, like, do you need your ICU beds that badly? Like, you can't keep them on for another day? You don't want to keep them on for another day? Who knows? But yeah, all that kind of stuff, it just makes me think like, oh shit. Yeah, and then family was saying like, oh, maybe they should have brought him to a better hospital. Maybe they should have flown him over. And I said, hell no. Like, if you had flown him out of state, out of Hawaii, I think his will would have been less, because he wouldn't be able to see his mom, right? So yeah, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, yeah, it was just like, yeah, it was really cold. And then the other thing too, I will share with you guys is, and it's a personal thing, but I'll share it with you guys anyway. So my there was one of the nurses, according to one of my relatives, that they had to take blood from him, or they had to do some sort of treatment on him, and they said, hey grandpa, how's it going? Or like, hey grandpa, how are you feeling today? And my relative was so offended, because the thing is that he looked significantly older because he lost his hair, and he wasn't a grandpa. So he thought, like, my relative thought, like, how could you be so disrespectful to him and call him a grandpa when you know he's a cancer patient? And you can look at the age, and he wasn't even 60 yet. And you have the audacity to call him a grandpa? And when you don't even know anything about him? That kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, and I imagine that hurt him, right? Because it's like the person right next to him who looks significantly younger is the same age as him. So, yeah. But before he had the cancer, he looked really healthy. He was a very good looking guy. He was very strong. He went to the gym. He lifted weights. He was full of life. He was so radiant. And yeah, it's just like, I imagine, like, just that kind of stuff. It must have taken a toll on his mental state and things like that. And he also lost, of course, a lot of dignity because he became reliant on other people because as the cancer was eating away at him. But yeah, it's just like, cancer is really horrific. And just knowing that he had that kind of life towards the end, and hospital couldn't do anything about it. His family couldn't do anything about it. Medicine couldn't do anything about it, really. I mean, like, the only best thing he had was radiation, but freaking radiation, like I told you guys, like, they refused to do more radiation, citing costs. It's like, really? It comes down to cost? It really comes down to cost? You're going to deny more radiation when it's working because of cost? And yeah, it just made me very sad. It made me very sad because it's like, I have always thought, like, if you go to a hospital, you get as much, no, yeah, I always thought, like, yeah, if you go to a hospital, they'll do everything in their power to try and save you, but just to know you're getting so much better because of radiation, and the cancer is actually gone from his head because of radiation, and then the family's like, oh yeah, he's strong still, let's do more radiation, and then just getting denied for radiation because of cost. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It really is. And then, yeah, so after that they said chemo, and then he just didn't tolerate chemo well. He had complication after complication, and yeah, what do you do from there, right? What do you do when the only course of treatment it seems worked really well with you was freaking radiation, and they don't want to continue doing radiation. They want to just do chemotherapy. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's just, I feel bad and I feel sad whenever I think too much about it. But yeah, so all that stuff that he did and all the ways the way he lived, it's a remarkable person. And yeah, I hope that the family continues to be strong, and we look out for each other, and I hope that we're there for each other. And I hope that the younger generations, like, just because he's gone, I hope people don't fracture away, kind of thing. I really pray and hope, because I know, like, one of the downfalls of being youthful is you think to yourself, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna live my life and I'm not gonna care about family because I'm too busy with this or I'm too busy with that. And yeah, at the end of it, it's like, I think it's kind of selfish. I think it's kind of selfish when you don't take time out of your day to let's say, pay respects to a family member who's dying, and yeah, or try to see them in person. And that's, again, it's one of those regrets that I have. I wish I had the knowledge, and I wish I had the determination to just say, fuck it, I don't care what people say, I'm gonna get to Hawaii anyway. But I didn't, and that's why. It's like, if I know, like, here's the thing, right? I know if it was a different situation, I know if it was one of his siblings, right? If it wasn't him, but it was another sibling who was in the hospital, I know my uncle would have gone there immediately to be there, to see that person, to see that sibling. And I, I just find it sad that not everybody, including myself, made the trip to Hawaii to see him. You see where I'm getting at? Like it's like a whole deeper thing, because he would have done that 100% for any family member. And yeah, some people just thought like it's too inconvenient to go to Hawaii, or it's too out of the way to go to Hawaii, and it's just excuses when it comes down to it. Yeah. So yeah, I can be open about that. And yeah, I gotta live with that kind of thing in mind. But I'm not gonna make that same mistake again, for sure. I'm not, and that's the thing that really just stays seared in my mind. But yeah, if I'd gone to Hawaii and I saw him, at least, I could have been there, and I could have, maybe I couldn't have spoken to him at length, but I could have at least shown my respects. And so, my life is not so busy that I can't take time out to see, kind of thing. And yeah, but shoulda, woulda, coulda, kind of thing. Can't change back the past. I can only move back and forward, and that is why I pray for the wisdom and knowledge to be a better person, to be a more family conscious kind of person, and not let stupid excuses in my head, or I'm too busy, to prevent me from seeing family, if that ever happens again. And I know it will happen again. I know eventually family members' health will fail, and I know that there's going to be things where they might have to be hospitalized, but I am not going to be one of those people. It's like, oh, okay, well, so and so uncle or so and so aunt is in the hospital. Yeah, I'm not going to see him because I don't want, I'm too busy. I don't want to take that flight. I'm not going to have that happen anymore. 100%. Yeah, and yeah. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about it. My phone is charged more, so I'm gonna go make a phone call, and I will talk to you guys later. But yeah, just appreciate your loved ones, and appreciate the time that you have with them. Don't take them for granted, because our time on earth is finite. And again, for anybody who is, written words of support and condolences and things like that, or advice, I really, really appreciate it, because I think that I'm gonna look back at this moment in my life and say, it's like, even though it's been a not so smooth sailing time, I will always remember, the people who took time out of their day to say, give me advice or some supportive things. And I really do believe in the future, or maybe I'm on the path now that I'll be, a stronger person, a wiser person, a more compassionate person, a more empathetic person. And I hope that as my family members get older, and if their health is failing and things like that, I hope that they don't look around and think that it's such a shame that my uncle passed away, because he would have been there for them. I hope that the family comes together and they feel like he's still there. Even though he is not physically there, that the family comes together, so it's like he was always there. See where I'm getting at? Yeah. So, and I really do believe one day we will be together again. And I also believe that one day when I pass, hopefully it's many, many years from now, but I do believe that I will see him again one day. And yeah, I want to tell him that the way he lived was not in vain. That he inspired so many people to be better, and to just be more, to be braver, for sure. Braver in whatever they chose to do, and just always value relationships and family and friends and things like that.